Beijing. We're joined at this time by political analyst Einar Tangen. Einar Tangen, you know, the US intelligence reports seem to suggest that the PLA is furious with their local army commander who went back at a time when the Indian army came in, established positions at the heights of South Pangong. The PLA pulled back. It's from the word that's coming out in the US media. It seems that the PLA is rather furious with the way the Indian army has gone in and now dominates the South Pangong sector.
Well, I don't know that there's this fury. I think the U.S. is very happy, as they have been, to stoke division between China and India. You know, even leading up to the Doklam incident, you know, there have been communications with the U.S. that in July, for instance, the U.S. is trying to resurrect the Quad, this kind of alliance against China. There were two military maneuvers, one in the Indian Ocean, one in the South China Seas. You know, this kind of confirms a pattern. So I don't know that many people are going to rely on what the U.S. is saying at this point. From China's point of view, you know, they're kind of puzzled. Every time they do something, it's considered aggressive against all comity, everything. But if India does it, it's a brilliant strategic move. I don't know exactly how you reconcile those two things. Either both sides are trying to come to some sort of accommodation, or India, for some reason, wants to use this perhaps as a way of deflecting attention from, you know, the more serious domestic issues with COVID-19, etc.
One second, Einar Tangen, who started this mess? Yes. It's the People's Liberation Army, led by your President Xi Jinping, that came into Indian territory and started this standoff in the first place. India's countermeasures now are defensive maneuvers to ensure that China's salami slicing is put to an end, Einar Tangen.
Well, yes, I mean, that is your perspective. From the Chinese side, they say that it was the other way around, that it was aggressive moves by India in terms of road building, redrawing maps, and, you know, statements within the Lok Sabha by senior ministers saying that they would not rest until areas that are currently controlled by China are returned to India. So, I mean, both sides see the other as the aggressor. That's why it's called a dispute. So this idea that somehow India is always in the right and China is always in the wrong, or vice versa, just doesn't stand the test of time. Now, please keep in mind, Xi Jinping is not my president. My president is Donald Trump. I'm not very pleased about it, but Xi Jinping, I'm an American citizen, and this is a Chinese Sino matter.
We've also seen PUBG being banned today. 118 apps, including PUBG. This is a second digital surgical strike carried out by the Indian government against the Chinese. And there's been a very strong reaction, a very strong wave of support in India for most of these apps being banned. Now, of course, with PUBG, there'll be some youngsters whose favorite pastime has been impacted and therefore they'd be upset. But largely, the ban on Chinese apps has received overwhelming response.
Well, I mean, so far China hasn't made a major response to this. They've sent warnings that they believe that this is inappropriate. But in the end, it is up to India what they want to allow in and not allow into their country. And so if they want to ban it, that's fine. But, you know, remember, this, you know, although there is a deficit with China, India's total exports, 15% of India's total exports are in fact to China, whereas only 2% of China's exports are to India. In terms of, you know, damage to economies by, you know, pulling these two apart, it's not that India will go unscathed. And that's why it doesn't make sense for either party to be pursuing this.